And the other thing they're really interested, do you know the New York Times really has a deep concern for diversity, and they're very upset that Liberty Plaza hasn't been as diverse as, you know, I'm sure the staff of the New York Times was. So it's really fun to watch them. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know what it is, and so that gives me a certain amount of pleasure. Another thing that I read quite recently, and this is about feminism, the body, and political performance, is a lot of people have been talking about the differences between this politics and the 60s. But there are differences between this politics and the anti-globalization movement, the Battle of Seattle, which was described as we used to move in packs of wolves led by an alpha male. Right, so that image of storming Starbucks, right? And now if an alpha male shows up on Liberty Plaza, he's booted. It is a very different kind of horizontal, what Angela Davis called the other day, a new community of resistance that is being performed in which people are coming to know one another and one another's issues. And that brings me to the last, so that was feminism in the body, political performances. And just so I don't take up too much of your time, I do want to speak about time and policing. And I think that, I mean, I totally, and I think we have to stay with the possibilities of Occupy Wall Street at the same moment that we realize, I think as the brother said, what kind of policing is coming down upon it and that we can anticipate seeing. Time. The other thing about the mainstream, the politicians and the media, is they want it to be over. Okay, you made your point, you changed the conversation, now go home and be done with it. Right? I can't tell you, when is it going to end? Enough already, certainly by the holidays, right? You know, and I kept thinking of what Mao said when he was asked what he thought of the French Revolution and its impact. And he said, it's too early to tell. So I think that revolution is slow, and it's not true. I think it's very, very important that the movement has no demands. That doesn't mean that we don't know what we want. But we know there's no quick fix, and that what we want can't be solved by the 2012 elections or in front or behind Obama's jobs bill. Watch the Democratic Party love protest. You know, they are just all over it, waiting to get you to go knock on doors again for Obama. So we need our time. We're making another world, and that takes a while. And finally, I want to speak about the policing. And I think I've been trying to do a little bit of research. Oh, another very important part about no demands. And, you know, what's his name? Christoph in the New York Times.
Nicholas Christoph.
Nicholas Christoph, the second week of September, he already had it down. There were 7 demands. He listed them. You know, where do they get off to find them? And even Michael Moore, who I sort of love and adore, he thinks that we should have a state-by-state constitutional amendment campaign against corporate personhood. Not a bad idea, but excuse me, if you live in Harlem right now, as Cornel West amplified, stop and frisk is your issue. The Rockefeller drug laws are your issue. Incarceration is your issue. If you're a woman, the attack on Planned Parenthood right now is your issue. We do not want our needs and our demands, which we're only beginning to discover, to be stopped and confined and pushed into one place. So I think that has been the absolute genius and newness of the movement. And now about policing. I think the first important thing was the arrest on the Brooklyn Bridge. 700 people were lured into an arrest because the commissioner in New York is well known to be data-driven. That was a data-gathering operation. They wanted to know who was protesting, which boroughs they were from, what socioeconomic strata, what occupations, all right? And I think that we have to talk now about the military-industrial carceral complex. That is to say that as we are somewhat withdrawing from our overseas counterinsurgency, do you think those companies that have been fueling counterinsurgencies abroad are going to stop business? No, they're entering directly into domestic urban police departments. I know in my home city of Cambridge, the police department was offered a free trip to Israel to learn how to control, terrorism. Seriously, the move between foreign and domestic, seeing the urban theater as a counterinsurgency theater, I think is just enormously important. The other dimension of the policing, which has been very striking to me, is the kind of biosecurity is the only way sort of I know how to think about it. You know, they act like they're the hygiene police, right? That what they're really about is sanitation. And the latest moment in that has been, you know, the confiscation of the People's Library. They say they can't.
Everyone knows you don't screw around with librarians. They put you in order. That's what they do. They put things in order. As John Hodgman said.
Well, they're not releasing the thousands of confiscated books because they have found needles, apparently, between the pages of the books. This is very consistent with the characterization of protesters as drug addicts and in somehow as a kind of blight on our city that needs to be cleaned up.